Good evening, everybody. How you doing? I'm currently sitting on the floor surrounded by black rubbish bags. Been doing a little bit of tidying up this afternoon, trying to chuck out some stuff I don't need. I keep getting cramp in my hand trying to hold this. But yeah, so yeah, I've been chucking stuff out, and it's slowly getting later and later in the evening, and I want to try and get something recorded before I actually have to go to bed. So yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting little video just to discuss a little bit about, I guess, why I modify my body, and sort of a little bit about how I got started in it, and where the interest comes from, I suppose. This could very well end up being quite a long video. I'm going to try not to ramble on too much, but I guess what's a good way to put this? Sort of the underlying drives behind, or the underlying, yeah, I guess the underlying drive behind wanting to modify my body is also something that drives me in a lot of other areas of my life, other interests and things like that. And it's going to be hard to try and specifically talk about body modification when the whole thing is sort of linked with seemingly unrelated things in my life. Like the drive behind why I modify my body is the same drive that pushes me to do various other things, and it's going to be tricky to try to sort of divorce the two, or the various different things that don't necessarily sound related, but I'm going to try to specifically just talk about body modification. So yeah, we'll give it a go and see how it goes. I'll try not to waffle on for too long, and I'll see how this goes after I've recorded it. I'll watch it back before posting it, and I might, if I'm not satisfied with it, I might end up recording a longer video further down the line if I feel like I haven't really got my point across very well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll give this a go and see what happens, shall we? Yeah, like I say, the overall drive behind it, I guess, stems from the fact that I'm quite an inquisitive person, naturally. I'm always looking at new things and new ideas and trying to take new things on board, and trying to think how to explain it. I'm not good at explaining myself very well with things like this. But yeah, always I'm just a very curious, inquisitive person. I'm always looking to expand my knowledge and explore new subjects and things like that. And often when I find something that particularly fascinates me, body modification being the perfect example of that, I want to learn 100% of everything that I can about it, as much as I possibly can. I'll go into it, everything from like the different types of procedures there are, to why people get certain things, why people like or dislike certain things, and all that sort of stuff. Any sort of reasoning behind it, be it anything from just cultural significance just to pure aesthetics. It all fascinates me, and I think, trying to think back, the first time I ever really discovered any of this sort of stuff, I was very, very young, and I used to watch, it was literally back in primary school days. I can remember doing this. Primary school and sort of into early secondary school. I used to watch programs on TV with my dad. We would watch things like just sort of odd little programs like Ripley's Believe It or Not type stuff, where they would just profile odd people and things that are perhaps a little bit unusual. And I think that was between that and sort of documentaries about sort of other cultures and stuff like that, is probably where I first ever discovered body modification. As I remember, funny enough, I was talking to my mum about this just recently. I remember when I was very young, I remember seeing a documentary about tribes with lip plates, and I just became completely obsessed with lip plates. I just absolutely loved them. I didn't understand what they were at the time. I remember thinking I didn't realise they were actually a piercing or an incision or anything going on. I literally just thought it was a case of they'd pulled the lip right out, literally, just like that, enough to actually squeeze in a plate and then just held it inside the lip. That's literally what I thought it was at the time. And I can remember, and my mum can remember this as well. I remember I used to put things in my plates well, I used to put things in my lips like little plates and dishes and stuff like that. And I'd walk around holding them in my teeth, pretending I had a lip plate. So this was very, very young. We're talking sort of 6 or 7, literally middle of primary school sort of age. And that's my very first memory of ever being interested in anything like this. I'd say that was well before I really understood any of it. I probably after that, that would be a little bit further down the line. Or it was when I remember getting into, like I say, the Ripley's Believe It or Not type things that I would watch quite regularly with my dad. I think that was just after we got Sky TV for the first time, and we found all these random little channels and bizarre programs and stuff, and that was one of the things we'd watch together. I remember seeing they would occasionally do profiles of people like the Lizard Man or Dennis Abner, and these people all just absolutely fascinated me. Up until that point, I didn't really have any idea of just how far you could take all this stuff and what it really was, and it just, I don't know, it was like a switch went off in my head, and I just instantly fell in love with all of it. And I spent all my spare time online looking at pictures, reading articles. I joined BME, the body modification website that was run by Shannon Larratt, and I joined the like the private, what you call it, like the private blog behind it, iam.bme. And I was very, very involved with the community on there, and I would talk to absolutely everybody about everything. I slowly became more and more interested in the heavy stuff, rather than just your generic piercings and that sort of thing. I became very interested in anything that would alter the function of the body, and I would specifically seek out the forums and the groups and the private profiles of people who were into real heavy things, like everything from heavy like genital modification to elective amputation and all that sort of stuff. I just found it absolutely fascinating. Up until this point, I'd never even realised people intentionally did this sort of stuff. And talking to lots of these types of people online, learning to understand their individual motivations and why they wanted to do these certain things that were so far removed from the norm, it just made me love the whole thing even more. I was fascinated with the individuals, I was fascinated with the procedures and the stuff they wanted to do, and it all just became completely ingrained in me, and it became an important part of my life. And it has stuck with me ever since, obviously. I say, as I've grown up and matured, and my own thoughts and opinions have evolved, so has my passion for modification. It's become an integral part of who I am. It's trying to think how to explain. Like I say, I'm not particularly good at explaining things and getting my point across, but yeah, it's like it's just something that has always been there, and it's been part of exploring who I am as a person, learning about these things, testing my limits, trying to find out what I can and can't do, what I can get away with. Again, that goes back to various other interests and passions of mine as well. I like, when I get involved in something, anything, I like to take it as far as I possibly can, and to see if I have any personal limits within it, try and find out what I can accomplish with it, and what I can learn about myself and other people from being involved in these things. And body modification in particular is such a unique individual journey for everybody that's involved in it. It's a very peculiar and quite a unique community in a way, because the people involved in this stuff, they all have completely unique individual reasons behind doing these things, and yet we're all drawn together to do the same thing for all completely different reasons. And I find that absolutely fascinating myself. And yeah, I guess that's a big part of why I absolutely love it, just because of the range of unique and fascinating characters that are a part of this community. And yeah, I that's a big part of it for me. Obviously, the aesthetics is a big part of it for me as well. If I didn't like how it looked, I wouldn't do it. Simple as that. But no, a big part of what drives me to do it is this never-ending curiosity and fascination I seem to have with pretty much everything, to be honest. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of it is focused into this sort of stuff, trying to learn about just who people are, if that makes sense. What drives people to do certain things other than just your average everyday things that everyone does just for the sake of doing it? What drives people to really explore alternate lifestyles, I suppose? Why certain people aren't just content just to do what everybody else does? And it isn't something I do just to try and be different. It's something I want to do that just leads me to being a little bit different. I guess that's one way of putting it. But yeah, trying to think of what else I can really say. I say there's so much more I sort of could say. I just don't know the words to get it out, if that makes sense. It's yeah, I guess it is just part of my journey. Everyone has their own unique journey through life. They seek out certain individual experiences for whatever reason that may be, and this is just the path I have chosen, and I enjoy learning about it along the way. It's been quite fascinating so far, I have to admit, which is why I've carried it on all these years, and it probably I can't ever see myself not being interested in this stuff. It seems like, especially the people who take this stuff to the extreme and really push the limits of things like body modifications, they seem to be the ones that have the most interesting stories behind it. Normally, the people who just do it for aesthetic reasons, they don't tend to take it as far, and they aren't necessarily as experimental with it. And that's part of what I love about the heavy mod scene, is the drive to experiment and to create something, and just to see what happens if you do this or do that. That's something I find it very intriguing, and yeah, it motivates me to keep pushing forwards and just to see how far I can take things. And again, that literally applies to everything else within my life. I'm fascinated with everything. I love learning about pretty much anything you can think of. If someone knows more about a subject than I do, I can just quite happily sit there and listen to them talk for hours and hours and hours. Regardless of the subject, regardless of whatever it is. I don't think there's anything that really properly bores me as such. I figure if there's something I can learn, then I'm open to learning it. And hopefully that will in some way enrich my life as a person, and hopefully make me a better person for it. That's the way I look at things. And yeah, I guess that's a big part of that same drive of wanting to learn, wanting to experiment, and and create my own life and my own journey is probably the ultimate driving force behind doing all these random little things with my body. It's just part of that overall inquisitive, curious nature, I guess. So it's good fun. It certainly it stops me getting bored with life anyway. There's always something more out there to learn, so that's good fun. And it's definitely good fun interacting with the community as well, and discovering other people's motivations and opinions, and what drives them to do these odd little things as well. It's good fun, yeah. I think that's what it boils down to. It's just good fun. Yeah, I don't think I've rambled too much in this video anyway. I might upload this now. Or I might upload it tomorrow. I will see. But yeah, I have a feeling when I look back at this, there's going to be 100 things I've forgotten and missed out, and I might revisit this at some point in the future. I might write down a few bullet points I'd like to say as well, and sort of revisit this and go into a bit more in depth as well. I will see. I will have a little look at this and I'll see. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that a little bit. I hope that's helped people perhaps understand my motivation behind these things a little bit better. Like I say, everybody's motivations are unique, and that's the fascinating thing about this particular culture, or this particular subculture. So yeah, thank you for watching this. If you've watched it all the way through, I greatly appreciate it. I know it's a little bit different to some of the other videos, but I thought it might be, some people might find it interesting, some people might not, and that's all good. But yeah, if you've actually watched all the way through this, then thank you very much, and I will speak to you again soon during the week. See you later. Ta-ra. Goodbye. Haha.